budget. So I want to give you some background information before we get going too far. Brad Butt, my dear friend since he was 18 years old, keeps repeating to everybody that this is a strong mayor budget. I've never done a strong mayor budget. What I have done, the strong mayor budget is set up in such a way, I can't read with them all about it, is the mayor designs the budget. The council can challenge the budget with a 2/3 vote on any particular subject. And the vote of council is rather pro forma at the end because it's too hard to kill anything in it. Mississauga's system is the staff is designed by, or the budget is designed by our staff. Council reviews it line by line by line. Challenges require 50+1 to take something out or to add something. And the final budget is passed by council. So when you hear him say, this is a strong mayor budget, Carolyn designed it, I did not. I have a lot of faith in our staff. They've been chosen carefully. They're a really good team we've got right now. So the other issue we've got is we've had people say to us, why have you not been able to split off from the region? A question I asked myself for many years. I was never actually in favor of it because the social services at the region of Peel and Meaghan do not laugh. The social services there are pretty incredible. They do a really good job. They work well with all the 100 agencies we have in the region of Peel that do social services. And to reproduce that in each of the 3 municipalities would be very expensive. And it would impede the fact that people can move from Brampton to Mississauga to Caledon and their new files follow them and their assistance follows them. But I am a little smarter than the bear on this. I've decided we are going to just take the puzzle pieces that save us money. And so far, I've been able to either trick or cajole Patrick Brown into agreeing with me on 3 things. First of all, the province got rid of planning. They downloaded planning. The trouble is, there's about 45 planners at the region, not a single one's been let go. So this time when we do, the reason planning is good to download to the local level is we control exits, entrances, approvals, all that stuff. And we can do it much more efficiently than somebody in Brampton doing ours. So what we did was we are going to go into this round of budgeting. It starts on Thursday, and we are going to try to take out 40 planners because they shouldn't be doing any planning at all. They could probably have 2 or 3 because they have to check plans that come in for water and wastewater infrastructure. The second thing we downloaded was solid waste collection. We subsidize Caledon and Brampton about $18 million a year, and that goes up every year. So we've nipped it. We will download it July 1st, 2026. So again, when we go into the budget on Thursday, we're only going to give them 50% of what they asked for to run the waste collection because they're only going to be doing it for half a year. The other thing is, most of all the waste collection is done by contracts. In those contracts, you have people that are supervising their drivers and all the rest of it. The region has 77 employees supervising those contracts that are already being supervised. Our guys say we can do it between 7 and 8 people, and we take the largest portion. So that's going to save us money. It'll be $18 million, half of it this year. Next year it'll be a full, 2027 will be a full 18, if not 20 million or more. We also took down regional roads. We've been trying to take regional roads for about 10 years. Finally got that done because we had some help from the province. And I have to tell you, I'm not going to say anything about Bonnie that isn't flattering, but Ford hates her. So you don't get things out of him if you happen to be somebody he hates. So despite the fact I was a Liberal MP years ago under Chrétien, he and I get along really well because I have learned if you want something from somebody, you don't call them bad names. You just cooperate as much as possible. So regional roads are $30 million a year that we'll be saving. And it's going to take a little bit longer to get those downloaded, but once they're downloaded, I'm building a case to tell you that there are things that we're going to be cutting this year in the budget that aren't forever. Because as soon as we download all this stuff, we will have enough money in our next budgets that we will be able to start adding things back in. What we're actually cutting is mostly infrastructure, repairing of roads, a couple of bridge projects. We're just putting them on hold. And you say, well, you know, you're just putting it off and you're going to have to pay for it eventually. Well, eventually we will have more money to pay for them because we'll be saving the money at the region. And right now, Mississauga on everything pays 58% of the bills up there, Brampton 37%, and Caledon 5%. A lot of the costs are in Caledon because you can figure out the houses are so far apart. If you're driving a garbage truck from one house to another, is quite a hike. And so that is what we're doing with that. $1 worth of taxes also, residential taxes, the region gets, when you pay me $1, the region gets 47 cents to do with as they please, or as far as we let them. And the trouble with voting at the region is we're outnumbered. We have 12 votes, Caledon and Brampton have 12 votes. And Brampton has 3, Caledon has whatever the 7 is. Brampton keeps asking for more votes. And the last thing you need is more councillors at the region. So we have been blocking that as much as possible. So on $1, 47 cents goes to the region, city 37 cents, and the province 16 cents. And that's for education. As a former high school teacher, I think that's beautiful. The schools are really suffering. And you can see why they're just ready to throw in the towel and give up on it. On commercial properties and industrial properties, the region gets 32 cents, we get 26 cents, and the province gets 42 cents for education. So they're building the education system on the backs of the industrial and commercial people, which makes your prices go up on things, but at least they're getting their money somewhere. Now, last year's add-ons was a tight year for us. You know, the budget increase or property increase was 9.2%. So the things we gave, free access to open facilities in our community centers to over 65s. Free transit with a Presto card for over 65s and kids under the age of 13. So if they're, I don't know why we tell you this, but under 5 with an adult, like you're not going to take a 5-year-old on the bus by itself. So a 5-year-old with an adult, Peter, it happens. So that we did as well. And it helps a lot of families because if you got 3 or 4 kids, it's much easier to get on a bus than it is to pay insurance and all the rest on a second car. We also brought in, I've been fighting for this for 8 years, but you're not allowed to yell at me about it because it was one of the increases. It's windrow clearing for everybody who has a driveway. So that is that nasty thing that happens at the end of your driveway when the salty, wet, slushy stuff, the plow drops it right when you finish cleaning your driveway. And then it hardens, and then you get a heart attack while you're trying to clear it out of there. So we've got windrow clearing for everybody, except if you live in townhouses and you have a maintenance company. We also brought in sidewalk clearing. The thing that's interesting, it's in the laws of Ontario that all municipalities have to clear all their sidewalks. We've never done it. We clear ones that are leading up to schools. But now all the sidewalks, I think it's 165 kilometers worth of sidewalks are going to be cleared. Maybe it's 265, I'm bad with numbers. What is it?
I can't remember.
Neither can I.
Got to be a lot more than that.
Pardon?
Got to be more than that.
It probably is.
It's the addition.
It's the add-on, yeah.
Oh, the add-on. Yeah.
Okay, that's why I keep moving. Besides parking spots. Okay, and we're also clearing bike trails, which between you and I in the woodwork, unless you're all bike riders, I always think to myself, in a heavy snowstorm, who's riding on a bike? Probably nobody, but we're still clearing them. And the expanded leaf pickup. And the leaf pickup expands as the neighborhoods mature. So that's what we put on last year. That was all the new stuff. Came to about 3.3% addition to your taxes. Then we'll get into my favorite topic, which is the police budgets. Police budget for 2025 was an increase of 23.6% over the previous year. You go to 2020 to 2021, it went up 3.8, not bad. You go to increase to 2022, another 4.8%. Then you go to 2023 and it's 9.5% increase. Then you go to 2024, it was a 16.4% increase. Then you go to 2025, it was 23.3. This year they came back with 11.5. The grand total of increase since we've been keeping track is 82.4% increase in the police budget in that short time. Now, I'm not too popular with the police because I really hammered it last year. That put 4.9% on your property tax number. That is a big chunk of money. And again, we only put 3.2 or 3.3, and then the region put 1.1 for your grand total of 9.4. So how are we going to fix this? Well, one of the things I did a little bit of a deal. And if you're all part of the hospital, don't get mad at me. I said we were not going to put any money into the new Trillium hospital bill. So Mr. Ford said to me, what do I have to do to make you change your mind? I said, you have to fix the police. Because the kicker for that one is, we pay 62% of the bill, and Brandon pays 38. 12% shift has to happen. So he was going, Patrick Brown's going to have a freak out, it's not going to work, all the rest of the stories. And I said, well, you want money going into Trillium, you're going to have to do this. That's my bottom line. So he has agreed, because I told him, do it 4% a year. This year, switch 4%. Next year, 8%. Next year, 12%. And then we're splitting 50-50. That's going to save us this year $33 million. You can do a lot of money with $33 million. So you're starting to add up in your heads. The money we're saving on roads, the money we're saving on waste pickup, and the money we could be saving this year on the police is going to put us in a much better position next year, but we have to get through this year. This year's tough. So 2026 will be paying 58%, 2027 54%, and by 2028 50%. He said to me, how do I do this? I was in the basement of his house, and he was making me coffee, and he had his little stove going. George was there helping him with the stove. And I said, well, why don't you give Brampton a grant this year? Give them $20 million. No mayor could cope with getting hit with that big amount this year. So he said, okay, we'll do that. So I am still waiting because they can't figure out how to do it without causing a big fuss. So in the middle of the night it came to me, an order in council could do it. They don't even have to get a vote, it doesn't have to go to the House, they just do an order in council. And so Minister Flack has agreed to do that. So we should get an announcement on it pretty soon because we need it before January the 1st so it can go into our budget plans. So that is my effort on the police. Next thing we are doing this year, because you will not accept a 10.4% increase. I would. So we've got to lower other things just to get us through this year. So we're lowering our capital infrastructure and debt repayment. It's at 3%. We're going to lower it to 1%, I hope. This has to go through council, remember. I can't do this. So then you increase it in 27, 2028, 2029. So in the end, you're putting just as much money in, but you're doing it in years where you've collected all this money back from the police budgets and the rest of it. We're pausing the 1% public safety fire program where we're going into the 5th year. We're going to pause that this year and put that on next year or the year after when we've got more money coming in.
Sorry, can you repeat that last one?
We're going to pause the public safety fire program. Now, none of this has been passed, so be careful, for 2026, and we'll reinstate it in 2027 and 2028, because it was a 5-year plan. After 2028, then we will put the 1% in for the hospital for 5 years. So you won't notice it. It's 1% is going to be gone, another 1% coming in, but we're putting $390 million in the hospital. The other deal I made with him was he wanted $450 million in the hospital. I said it's under $400 million and we're not doing it. So we got it to $390. But that's still saving us quite a bit of money. So we've had revenue increases this year. This is a real number of $17.4 million just with all our cost savings that we've been doing all year. Our staff gives us ways to save money and we implement them. And another 2.3% in efficiencies. Assessment growth increase is usually between 0.5% and 1% of people adding, moving into Mississauga, adding to their houses, changing houses, whatever. And then we're reducing some of our transit because the transit riders have reduced. So if they've reduced, we're changing the routes around a little bit. We're not putting as many new buses on and as many drivers. And then we're also going to reduce transfers to reserves by about $3 million. So these are things I've heard that we're thinking of doing. We have to get all the councillors to agree to it, or 50% plus 1. So I mentioned we're going to defer major projects We're going to defer the hybrid bus conversion. We've done so many. We're going to be doing more, but we'll pause it this year. We're pausing road projects, but none of them are down here. They're Torbram, Burnhamthorpe, and a few other places, 4 or 5 of them. And they're not ready to collapse or anything. We've got pretty good roads here, so we're just going to be smoothing it over for a year. We have to wait for the 2 things that I've talked about, change in the DC reductions once the housing gets moving again. And last year, 2024, I think we had something like 2,300 units built, started, plans for. We've got 11,000 on the drawing board this year. So the 50% reduction, the Commissioner of Housing and Development came to me and he said, what would you rather have, 50% of something or 100% of nothing? And I said, well, easy question. And he said, well, that's what it's going to be. And if you look at some of the other municipalities, they've got 0 units coming in. And Patrick lost his money this year from last year. If we hit our 10,000 units, which is our target, we get $32 million from the government, so from the province. So that gets added into our pool and gets us through the next 2 or 3 years and things start stabilizing. So that's how we're going to get it through this next year coming to try and get it in, your taxes in around 6%. Now they were looking at 10.4 at the beginning of this year until we did all this, or we proposed all this. And it's looking like we can get it down below, well below 7, probably a little bit higher than 6. So a few other things. We're looking at things that are important to build in the future. I built, when I was the Ward 5 councillor, we put a youth hub up in Malton. And we've had almost 4,000 students, young people get cards to say I'm a member of the youth hub. We've had 200,000 visits in 2 years. We've got kids off the streets. We've got all the petty crime and shoplifting and all the nonsense has stopped up there because they have a place to go. And they've got a recording studio built by Metalworks, designed by Metalworks. They've got dance studios, and upstairs where you least suspect it, they have drug counseling, they have job counseling, they have all kinds of things that they might not be able to ask the teachers in schools. So it's a rousing success. So we're building a second one this year in Glen Forest area. So that one is, what we did, we converted an indoor swimming pool, which was a bit of a problem. This one, they tore the pool right down. And you've got one down in Clarkson that they tore the pool down. We could put another one in there. So we're trying to do one a year in my next.
Cothra, maybe. Cothra, not Clarkson?
No, there's one at Clarkson too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, Clarkson is, I think, our next area that needs it.
Good.
You look at the demographics, you look at the kids, you look at the crime rates. Okay, so future projects, that's one. We've looked at updating. I'm not a big fan of strategic plans. I should admit that to you. And don't, well, you did record it, so I'm dead. A lot of staff people get really excited about strategic plans. I always think plans evolve, and talk to 82,000 people, they'll give you 82,000 things they think you should be doing with the city. The pluses that we found with 82,000 people was they liked the diversity, they liked the evolving community spaces and activities. They like the fact that we're doing more with arts and culture, things they didn't like. And you can fill me in when I'm finished, I have a pen. They don't like the traffic congestion. They don't like the affordability problem, which we're working on. They are very concerned about safety, economic opportunity, cost of living, which are things that the city council can't fix, and the USA and their tariffs and their crazy man. The other thing that we did this year, if you were around on the weekend, we had 40,000 people come to a Santa Claus parade in the city center. We haven't had one for 24 years. Problem was, I didn't think about it till July. You normally have 10 months to plan a parade. We had less than 4. But it really went off really well. I was in the lead vehicle, and it was just amazing to see all the kids. Just crazy amazing. And we want to also, I don't know if anybody in here goes to LAC concert halls performances, but what we're looking at, just west of it, there's a park that's got this big bump in it. Nobody uses it. Dogs won't even climb up there. We're going to take the bump down. We're going to put underground parking, and we're going to put a concert hall there. That way the LAC can continue with the MSO when the concert hall's finished, and it's gonna be like Massey Hall renovation. We're going to do huge standing spaces so that you can not have a seating at all, seating that comes down so the MSO's happy. Probably 2,000 seats, because we can't get good acts here because it's 1,100 seats, nobody wants to play to that. And then when that's done, we're gonna tear that old LAC down. I wanna be there with the shovel the first day. It's right now so badly degenerated and was so poorly built, really, because there was a lot of penny pinching at the end, that it's 130 million to get it in shape. So rather than 130 million, we'll spend about 250 million on the new concert hall. And Mr. Ford is one of my bribes for the hospital money, promised he would give us 50 million for that once we get it started. Then we've got a huge 4-acre piece, clear. Because back in the day when that was built, it was on an angle and it made the 2 parts of the property useless. So then we have the opportunity to put out RFPs for a what do I want to say it is? Convention center and a hotel. And the hotel people are already interested, because if you've ever hung around downtown Mississauga, there aren't any hotels or somewhere. And to bring in conferences, they love the fact that the Square One's there. They love all this stuff. They love that we're not the United States lately, but there's no hotel downtown. And there's no good restaurants downtown. If you want to go to Burger King, that's the place to be. So that is my dream for the second term if I get elected. So I am ready to answer questions, and I'd love to know what your priorities are, because I've told you the concert hall's a big one for me, because, and it's big for Councillor Dasco, who's starting a new committee on my behalf, a mayor's consultative committee on arts, and he's sold on it. And we've got to do something to make the center of our city really attractive. A place people talk about. We're the 6th or 7th largest city in Canada, and the downtown looks like some little Hoboken town. So we've got to do something about it.
Thank you. What we'd like to do, we've got 5 questions that we've prepared, and then we just want to open it up and not just ask questions and answers, but we also want to find out from yourself what we can do to get some of these things moving and help you move things forward, because what you're doing has to benefit us, and obviously we want to help you get these things done faster and quicker, because we're concerned with a number of things. But the first question, I'm going to hand it over to Sean, who you know.
Thank you. Sean Maher from the Metamorphosis nonprofit network. Mayor, as you know, we've been living with chronic underfunding in community services for a long time. Last year, our organization put out a study that showed that we were $868 million behind where everybody else in Ontario is. This January, we're going to put out a new study that shows service by service what the underfunding looks like in each of those services. But one of the things we know from looking at those numbers is that the municipal government is picking up a big piece of that missing money.
Your taxes are picking that up.
In childcare, in affordable housing, in seniors care. I do want to thank the City of Mississauga for supporting our public education campaign, the What Matters to You campaign. And there's a sneak peek, doesn't start till January, but there's a sneak peek on it with our surveys and with our postcards at the back of the table. But the big question for us is, what can the city do to pull the province into a conversation about fixing this, and how can we in the community help?
Well, how you in the community help is a bigger question, but the trouble with particularly the Ford government, as much as I'm nice to him, so we get what we get. And there's a big announcement coming next week of a huge infusion of money to one of the big companies here. It'll create 250 jobs. So I'm telling you, I don't abuse him. I don't tell him, you know, this sucks, you gotta do something. But I talk to him about it all the time. In the first AMO conference I went to, we talked to all the ministers about it. We were all had a script. It didn't do us a lot of good. It suddenly hit me the other day. I was at a conference and Chief Nish was up there describing all the new programs he's doing with all this money we're giving out. And he was doing Metamorphosis projects. He was doing intimate partner violence. He was building 2 big centers. He's had one in Brampton, now he's building one in Mississauga. And I'm sitting there thinking, he gets defended. Like, Ford is a big pro-police guy. So we've got to grab that guy by the ears and say, you need to help the people who are professionals at this. So we can't do it because we've spent almost a year and a half, 2 years trying to hammer this Metamorphosis message through. But I'm sitting there listening to Nish at a luncheon where he talked for 45 minutes. He must have hit 10 of your jobs. And you probably do them better and cheaper. Because a police officer starts at $100,000 a year. The people that are working in Metamorphosis do not. So my plan is to try to work with him and get him to speak on our behalf. It's a little counterproductive though. I'm not optimistic because then he doesn't have a reason to build all the social services into his department. But I could not figure out what he was doing with 300 new officers, and he's got another 175 that he's going to hire this year. He's doing your job. He's expanding this thing into a great big army, and it's more expensive than anything you do. So I want to sound defeatist. The only thing we can do is try to get the police on our side and say, even though you want to do these things, you can pull these experts we already have in the community, and you've got to help us get our fair share of the money. Everybody's helping him. Last year getting his 23.3%. They were all yelling at me, leave the police alone. Well, I didn't. But I think that's what we need to do is we have to get the police on side somehow. And love to sit down with you and some of your folks and figure out how we could design a plan that will attract him into doing it for us. That's all I can think of. I'm sorry.
What about the underfunding?
Well, that's
To get our fair
underfunding.
share.
The underfunding is going into the police, or he's forcing us to do it with your local taxes. The underfunding is, he's going to say to us, well, the police are doing this, you don't need more funding for the Metamorphosis people.
Yeah.
So we've got to get him on side, and we've got to try to work as a unit. Because we slide behind all the time, because even though Mississauga's population is kind of settled a little bit, we actually lost people at one point. The region is fastest growing in the country. So they're always telling us, well, we have to give you money based on the last census, which was how many years ago, 5 years ago, or I think we're about to do one. So we never stop, Sean. All of us, the whole crew at City Hall, we're working on it all the time. But I think it was like a light went on in my head when I listened to Nish. I'm going, you're doing our job. You're doing our volunteer people's job and our professionals.
Yeah, I think it's a terrific thought, and one of the pieces of work that we've been doing is to broaden the team. And you know, in particular, the boards of trade have been fantastic. They've also built into their messaging this message because they know they can't build a great economy unless they can also build a great community.
Right.
And you know, it's an interesting idea. If neighborhood associations and the business associations and the police service are all saying we need investment to be able to make community work, maybe that's enough voices.
A couple of roundtables with the police officers, especially the ones that are heading up these various departments that they're stealing from your business, and work with them and see how we can, not in a threatening way, but in a good way, come up, hold hands together. And then once it becomes significant, then maybe Ford will put more money in it. I don't have a magic answer though. Who's the next question?
Okay, this is housing supply versus housing demand, and I think you touched on some of it already, but so the Peel's housing market is increasingly disconnected from the needs of the residents. Developers, constrained by a financing model that relies on pre-construction sales, are building ever smaller condo units geared towards investors, while failing to meet the demand for affordable housing for young people, families, seniors, or the working poor. This model means that in current market conditions, we may not see shovels in the ground for years. Should we be rethinking this approach altogether? Perhaps looking to European models where housing is treated as a home rather than a vehicle for wealth accumulation. And more fundamentally, how are we even calculating the number and type of units Peel truly needs? Are we using up-to-date Statistics Canada data and demographic modeling that accounts for immigration trends, declining fertility rates, delayed family formation, rising childcare costs, and income stagnation? What does this modeling tell us about the future demographic breakdown of Peel And how will the city ensure that housing supply aligns with the actual needs of our residents rather than speculative?
Do you all have sleeping bags?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wow.
Breakfast? I'll tell you, exactly 1 week after I was sworn in, we pulled together about 35 of the top developers that work in Mississauga. And we put the task force together. We had 4 meetings. The first meeting, I had our senior staff there from planning, and we sat and told them, tell us everything we're doing wrong to slow down development. And they just let it all rip. So we brought in what we call 3 strikes and you're in. So if you get your plans back twice, 3 times, knock on the door, go in with red pens, and we fix it. So we're speeding things up. I just told you, we had 2,300 units applied for and building permits last year. We're over 11,000 this year. So yes, we are using the demographics, because one of the things we don't have enough of in Mississauga is rentals. And we don't have enough 3-bedroom rentals for new families coming in that need bedrooms for their kids to live in a civilized. And we get a lot of people from countries that never own homes. They don't want to. They've always lived in high-rise rental buildings. So of the 11,000 units that we're looking at right now, I would say 9,500 are rentals, because we made it so attractive to do a rental building. If you do a rental building, you get 35% property tax as the owner of the building, 35% drop in your property tax for 35 years guaranteed. Now the other thing that we brought in from my task force was we brought in, you don't pay 1 penny on building a building until it's occupied. You don't pay the DCs at the beginning. And they picked it up in one of the bills that just went through in the House. So we're setting a pace out here that nobody can match. I'm told by Build Association that we have the most progressive, most attractive groundwork done for buildings. So we're doing that, but we're also concentrating on what people need. And those 1-bedrooms, if you look at those zigzag buildings that Rogers is building, those are like little rabbit warrens in there. And I don't know who's gonna live there, because if you look at them, the lights are on partway up and then it's dark. So we are working hard to get the builders to build what we need. So a lot of that was, I can't even get it beginning to remember all the stuff you said. But I need to assure you that that task force really got to the roots of it. And builders, that's how they make their living. They're not going to build a building and lose money on it. So we have to cooperate with them to a certain extent. We don't build buildings. We don't have money to build buildings. So we have to use the developers. Some are good and some are crooks. We work with the good people. And the good people are the ones that are coming into us because they were part of that task force. They know we respect them. They know we listen to them. And so they are coming in with the permits for us right now. So,
is there any chance that the federal government can actually, or federal, provincial, anybody, build housing from the government point of view, not from the developer point of view, because they're all into profit? There's a beautiful building in Dasco's Cawthra going up. It's a rental, but apparently it's a luxury rental, meaning so
that's
it's
Morgard.
rental, but it's not affordable for a lot of.
Yeah, that's Morgard. I was there for the subject.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
But that's not what we need. He's got the money to do it, and he can afford to. And I think it is rental, and he can let it just sit there. And there are going to be people, empty nesters, who sell their house for a house they bought for $200,000. They're going to be selling for $2 million, and they can afford to go into those places, and they don't want the upkeep and then the rest of it. But as far as building what we need to build, if we hit our targets, we get a big chunk of money back. As far as, I was very disappointed in the federal budget because he kept talking about prefabs, he kept talking about $13.2 billion going into this. What did we get out of it? I didn't see anything. Now we do have Mattamy, who are putting together a prefab factory, 2 big buildings in Ward 9. And one building does the outside pieces for a three-unit apartment building. The other one does all the cabinets, all the kitchen stuff, everything you need, and they're ready to start. So we put a little pressure on the region because there's an area called Twin Pines. Twin Pines, I can't remember. What is it?
Twin Pines.
Twin Pines. And they've got 24 acres there. It's been sitting there for 18 years. And the region bought it for $5 million 18 years ago. And you can't get the people to move out of their trailers. One guy even dug a basement under his trailer, which God knows if that's safe. But anyway, Chris Fonseca and I just took a motion to the region last week. We're taking 3 acres of it. It's got a submarine shop on it. There's no trailers. And we've got prefabs going in there. We're gonna have that thing built like that. And all those people that don't wanna leave their trailers, there's like 53 of them, 53 groups, will see townhouses, they'll see prefab high-rise buildings, they'll see prefab mid-sized building. We're gonna build a community there. So then when you say to them, do you wanna move into one of these units? Yes, it's in the same location, all my friends are there, I will move. And once we get those trailers out of there, we've got another 21 acres that we can put up for all kinds of mixed housing.
I just want one last point, because I do walk all the time along Lakeshore, the various parks with a group of friends. There are a lot of tents that have popped up in the woods. One guy actually started to wash himself in the lake there by the marina by Lakeview. And I mean, those are the people that don't have actual money to move into the rentals. What do we do?
Well, what we do is the region has 3 outreach teams.
Mm-hmm.
So when you report an encampment, they send social workers out and they offer them to be moved into the shelter. They do an evaluation with them. Most of them have mental health problems, or they have alcohol, drug problems.
It looks very tidy. It's not that
No, some of them are
messy.
perfect, and we try not to break up our encampments. Brampton goes in and clears them out and just lets the people scatter. We don't do that. We get the region to come in and do the best they can. We do the best we can, put them in touch with clinics and so forth, and try to, leave them as long as they're not sitting on a soccer field. We had to move one because they just moved in and took over the kids' soccer field at a school. Those ones we moved. But the other ones, as long as they're not causing problems in the area and we're not getting a lot of complaints, we try to take them out slowly.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention, development is fun and we know it's happening, it's the growth. But we are having these high-rise buildings, and we're on board through, we have 23 development applications in that ward alone. Coming into residential areas, 12, 15-story buildings, right back onto some people's homes, who've established their livelihood there. This is a concern, I think, for many of us in Applewood, at least, and I think even here at 900 North Park, we have this development being planned. And how is that impacting the local community? How is the voice of the residents who are being impacted by this development viewed? Like, we really think the city's not listening to us. And I know I can, then it goes to the province, and very likely those applications, is there appeal? Yes, but that's affecting us, I think, very negatively.
Well, one of the problems is we've built out to our boundaries. We have no places we can put subdivisions in. So the only way to expand housing is to go up instead of up. And we are also regulating the heights. We are regulating heights. If you're on a main thoroughfare, you're on transit, you go up to 35 stories. It's the only way you're going to get the people housed in this city that we need to get people housed.
The setbacks are very minimal.
No, I know what your problem is with the way we do it, but we have to do what we're doing. We have no other choice. And the areas in Ward 3 that are getting more apartment buildings, they're sometimes on areas where you've got 2 buildings and a massive green space around it. We have it going on down in Port Credit as well, and we have it in Cooksville. And what you do is you infill into the big green spaces, and you throw up a 3rd building or a 3rd tower. I know you don't like it. I grew up in an area of Etobicoke that there were no high-rise buildings at all. I drive through there now and there's thousands of them. It's just the way the world's progressing, and if you're going to live in a city, you're going to have to say, we want more newcomers, we want more people working in we have more people coming into Mississauga to work than to go out. So we have to house them, and we have to house them in things that they can afford. Rental buildings. I don't think condos will be built anytime soon for a while.
Tenants don't pay property taxes, the property owners do. So how is the city profiting from tenants?
I didn't hear that.
Tenants don't pay property taxes, property owners do.
Well, no, tenants pay property tax in their rents. As the property tax go up, the rents go up. So everybody is paying their fair share. And we are not gonna say, since we have no more empty land for you to build single-family houses, we're not gonna say, stop, you can't live in Mississauga anymore. So we have no choice. And a lot of the regulations the province is bringing in are not even appealable. So you get a building going in there that meets our credentials, it's on transit, it's this, it's that, it's 30 stories. You don't have a leg to stand on, it's just gonna go in.
I have a question related to that last point. So with people's inability to change or to influence designs and plans, what is your feedback on how communities can improve engagement? Because you see, it's like a chicken and an egg, right? You want people to be engaged, you want people to come and voice their thoughts and opinions, but when you've got no ability to actually influence what goes up in your neighborhood, people feel that it's a waste of time. So I'm just wondering, like, what are your ideas in the current government, like the current landscape that we're living in? How can we get young people to care about what's happening? It's a huge problem.
It's the young people that actually come to a lot of our planning meetings and chastise those who are trying to stop high-rise buildings from going in. The young people say, I have to have a place to live and I can't afford the down payment for a house. Some of them can afford to carry the house, but they can't afford the massive down payment that they have to pay. So it's up to your individual councillors. Chris Fonseca, for example, she holds dozens of meetings. I'm going to her budget meeting this week. She's holding meetings all the time, but she's up against a planning system that's restricting her as well. So if you've got a councillor that's holding a lot of meetings, you can influence things like, we always say it should be compatible with the neighborhood. So you're not going to put, you've got two high-rise buildings at 18 stories, you're not going to put a 35 or 40-story building, or you're going to try to match what's there. So you got to have some faith in the planners that work for us, that they're not going to destroy a neighborhood. That's not their job. Their job is to try and make it fit. And a lot of times you get a lot of people not happy with it. Once it's built, everybody's okay. It's just, no one likes change. I don't like change. I walk in the house and David's moved something in the furniture and it's like, where'd you move that? So I just, like, we're all like that. We don't like change. And so we've got to work with the local councillor. You've got to have some faith in the planning department at the city that they're not going to put some monstrosity in there. Every once in a while, when the councillor fights something because his residents want him to, they go to something that's called the OLT. And we had one building that was going to be 30 stories. The builder, a rental building, the builder wanted to make it 32 stories. The councillor wouldn't go for it. Went to the OLT and it's now 40 stories. And we can't do anything about it. It's not appealable.
I mean, my question wasn't specific to the housing. It's in general, right? Like, even for debates with the most recent elections, if you look at the people in the auditorium, that are in the audience, there aren't any young people. It isn't for the people that are, 40, 50, 60 years old. Like, it's about getting...
You're asking me how I can fix human nature.
No,
it's not quite that good yet.
What your thoughts are on that. Like,
My thoughts are, it's up to parents. It's like the first time I was old enough to vote, my parents dragged me out to vote. I wanted to go do something else, but I didn't vote. And if you vote the first time, Peter, I bet you voted before you were old enough. Fake ID. His mother would have had him by the ear. But no, it's a lot of it's family. You've got to get your kids interested. You got to talk at the dinner table.
Yeah.
People don't have dinner tables anymore. They're flying in and out of the house, grabbing a hamburger, or doing whatever they're doing. So it's your responsibility as a parent to indoctrinate your kids, engage them in discussions, get them to watch stuff on TV that's political. It's getting harder and harder because people are struggling, especially young people. What do they have, 26% unemployment now? They've got more serious things on their mind than what color the building's going to be around the corner. They're more worried about their lives. Can they afford to get married? Can they afford to have kids?
I agree, and that's really what, the government plays a big part in that. Anyway, I think we've talked to it. I've talked to it.
Okay.
I have a question.
You've got a
This
reason.
is
Is this
concerning.
like a 15-minute one?
A little bit shorter.
Okay.
I want to provide some context just in case, because it's relatively recent in the news, so I
Okay.
just want to provide a little bit of context. So the province's Bill 60 creates public corporations under the Business Corporations Act to deliver water and wastewater service. A structure, experts warn, opens the door to for-profit control of essential utilities and weakens public oversight, starting with Peel. Internationally, the UK's privatized water sector is in crisis. Bills rose in real terms, companies accrued massive debts, infrastructure decayed, sewage spills increased, and taxpayers were left facing contingency plans and potential bailouts for firms like Thames Water, which is hardly a model of affordability or accountability. Given these cautionary lessons, what insight can you share about the province's motivation and Bill 60's practical implications for Mississauga and Peel? What specific steps is the city taking or planning to protect safe, affordable, publicly accountable water service? And how should residents and community organizations organize to support council's position, keep this issue visible, and apply pressure to the province to prevent UK-style outcomes here?
Well, that's a good one, because I don't agree with privatizing water and wastewater, number one. Number two, the city has no control over it at all at this point. It's the region. Region of Peel does water, wastewater. Number three, when we were trying to get the region to vote to lower their DCs 50%, a letter arrived from the minister that said, we will give you $1.3 billion down payment because we are taking over your water and wastewater. They're taking it over because we have the cheapest, cleanest, best water system in Ontario. And the reason it's good is it's always been good right from the beginning. We sell water to North York. So they looked at us like a big candy store because they're going to make money if they take it over. So what Bill 60 did was they lowered it down to Caledon gets a share, Brampton gets a share, we get a share. But the minute we download it to us, then they're going to privatize it. And the only control we'll have as the mayor and maybe one or two councillors can sit on the board that runs it.
Is this a foregone conclusion? That
Absolutely.
And what can we, like, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to read about what has happened
No, I do.
in the UK. I mean, it's an absolute
My husband's
bombshell.
British. I have to read this stuff.
It is horrific, and for something like that, I mean, we, as residents, we cannot just sit idly by and allow something like that to happen. So what would you suggest we do?
What I would suggest is probably the Tories shouldn't have been elected this time.
I didn't vote for them.
Well, no, but a lot of people did. No, in my business, I've been in this for 40 years. You know some things are inevitable, there's nothing you can do about it, this is one of those. They've looked at this like it's a great big bowl of cherries.
But
And they're gonna make
this
money.
is a common good that we cannot, this is
I'm
like
not
a
telling you,
lifeline.
I'm not telling you what you want to hear. You want me to tell you to get pitchforks and go down to Queen's Park and
No, I mean, that's.
in a bus and make a
No,
big
that
fuss?
is not how I would
I'm
vote
trying to be
do
honest
it.
with you, which is unusual for most politicians. You can't fix this one. It's done. It's a fait accompli. It's been on their books since Calandra was the Minister of Housing. And they're just trying to figure out how to do it. And it's going to take them 2 to 3 years to complete this. But they're offering the region all the money to buy out all our equipment, our stations, all the rest of it.
It's like the 407.
Yeah,
Same.
or a tunnel under the 401. It's a bad idea. It's a good idea for the province because they're looking for revenue, and this is a money-making proposition. So if you want me to, we can get T-shirts, we can get flags, we can march around
I think
and send
something-
lots of letters, and we can do all these things. I'm telling you the honest truth, it's not going to change. It's sad, and I don't agree with it. We also have the exact right formula of fluoride tested on an hourly basis so we don't over-fluoride our population. Nobody else does that. We have a perfect system, which is why it's getting victimized first. And once it works, it's like hydro, it's like everything else. It just
Has the company
becomes,
been chosen that will buy it?
it's not a company, it's the province
Oh,
is
the
going to own
province.
it right now. Then they're going to have a board of directors, and we're going to get some say, Brampton's going to get some say, Caledon is. But they'll always appoint provincial people to sit on. It's like the police services board. We have, well, we had 2 mayors on there. I left in a huff. and the reason I quit after a couple weeks on there is you're not allowed to speak against the police budget once you come out of that room. So I wasn't gonna sit there and go, oh, everything's good, 23.3, lovely. I'm really thrilled that we have to pay that. So I quit. So you've got Patrick Brown, you had me, now you have one of the deputy mayors. And you have Nando, who's appointed, the regional chair is appointed by the province now. So he's an appointee of the province. And then you've got 4 people or 3 people that they appointed. So,
And that should be changed. Those 4 people appointed should be,
no, I think
decided by
there should be a bigger change.
cities.
We've hired for $100,000, $120,000, a consultant to look at breaking up Peel Regional Police into 2 police departments. We're big kids now. There are 44 individual police departments in much smaller cities, all through this province. And we are doing a full report to find out if we can separate out and let Brampton play with them, because they're the ones that vote to give them all the money all the time. Because I'm not casting aspersions, but if every time you turn the TV on, where is the shooting? Where is the house being burned down? Where is the car accident? Who has the highest insurance rates in Ontario? Brampton, because it's all crazy up there. So let them pay for this. Let them have Nish there running their stuff. We want our own police department.
Do you think we can get that?
It takes 2 to 3 years to get it all transferred over. You have to, and in the end, you have to go to the Solicitor General and you have to build a case to say, we can, with our own police department, keep our city safe. If you can prove that, he can't say no.
But the report can be issued soon.
You know, I think the report's probably going to take 6 or 8 months. We just hired them. I'm meeting with them on Thursday.
Maybe we should just revisit the Municipal Act.
Well, that's a nice thought.
I
know you're being serious.
We are economic engines for this province.
We're the second largest producer of everything, second biggest economy.
Perhaps, we should.
And by the way, I have to tell you, my father was a policeman in Toronto for 37 years. So I'm not anti-police. I think police are great people. I'm not particularly thrilled with the leadership in that police force.
I don't like how you're criticized. I was on a website today and it was openly criticizing you as not being behind the police. So
I'm a police brat.
Well, I forget who it was from, but it's so coalition of somebody that it really bothered me. So I'm sure it's like one of the unions and so forth. Sorry.
Just jump in.
No, that's okay. No, I don't even think it's the
Jump
unions.
in.
I think it's just citizen service.
So, Carolyn,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, as somebody who's worked in the private sector my whole career, in a very competitive industry, I've never seen a budget. I always thought budgets less than inflation, and I was always told, figure out, give people the salary increases they deserve, they'll get more efficient. And when I hear that, I can hear that you're doing a lot of things to get the city more efficient. But when I hear this police budget, I'm just in shock. Is there no kind of check and balance? Because
There's one piece up to the puzzle. To get them to 11.4, they've got a $12.5 million, I want to call it a slush fund. It's something that we put in every year. We're taking that out on Thursday. So that'll take us down to 9.9, which is still high.
no, but
But at
they're
least we'll
coming
save.
to you with this enormous increase that's driving like 2/3 of the tax increase in Mississauga. And it seems like there's just no way to push back on it. Like
Well, do I look frustrated? I was going crazy last year. And we also had some stuff that I don't want to get into, some big mistakes from the previous council that we've got to figure out how to fix,
So
because they cost money.
here's what I don't understand. I worked in Albany and New York for 3 years. So I talked to a bunch of state senators. And they basically said if they took a tax increase, they wouldn't get reelected.
Right.
I mean, they have a different viewpoint in the US. They put the constituents push back. They say, figure it out, get more.
You know what,
whatever.
Mark, we did our deputation at the region and they knew how upset we were. The mayor acknowledged that, but we had some of our own councillors vote against the city of
Yes, 3.
Mississauga. They voted with Brampton and Caledon.
We had a motion on the floor the only way you can, first of all, there's no line-by-line budget from the police.
Yeah.
That's a
Number
problem.
two, there's no audit of the police.
Yeah.
The only audit there is, no, just let me finish. You can find out why I quit the thing after 3 months. The only audit is the region collects their money. So they line up the 2 columns of money that transfers and that gets audited. But there's no value for money spent audit. There's nothing. We don't even know. One of the counselors asked, you can't hire 300 police in 1 year and train, can you? No. Well, then why are we giving you 300 police worth 12 months worth of dollars? Oh, overtime, and they started talking about the such. I said, don't you have an overtime budget? You're not allowed to ask us that. So that's one of the problems. The second problem is we asked, first of all, we sent a letter saying, could you please reconsider this 23.3? We got a letter back in 15 minutes saying, no. Not from the police, from one of the guys on the police board. He used to be a grade 13 student of mine. Anyway, so he said, no, we're not going to, okay? So then we went into the next council meeting and we said, we're moving a motion to have it, what was the word?
Like reviewed by the.
Reviewed by the province.
Arbitration.
Arbitration, good girl. And I had 3 Mississauga councillors that voted no. They didn't want to send it there because what happens when it goes there, it does get audited. When you ask for them to review it, they audit it.
And they were who?
Well, it was in the paper, easy.
I know, but
Okay, one was Sue McFadden, one was Alvin Tedrow, and one was
Martin.
Martin Reed. Yeah. Now, what we had set going in there was we needed 1 Caledon vote because Brampton's going to give them it to the world. And we needed 1 Caledon vote, and I had a Caledon vote. But when our guys bailed, I texted her, I said, don't stick your neck out. We'll save you for when we need you, sort of thing. So we could have sent it to Queen's Park, could have been mediated and checked, but 3 of our guys, for whatever reasons, and they may have had good reasons, I can't think of any, didn't help us. So the police thing is, it's really a big problem, and that's why your taxes were so high last year, and they were heading down the road for the same thing this year.
And if they haven't had enough time to train and streamline these guys into the process, why are they going for more of this?
They've just finished with the last batches in police college right now, probably about 80. They'll be out and on the streets fairly soon, so they want to pick up another 175 because they're building an army.
They haven't tested them.
so I think we have another question over here, right?
Yes, Mayor, one question, staying on with the bills. I think there's a bill 68 that deals with the conservation authorities in Ontario.
Yes.
So this is where they're trying to, I guess, downsize or centralize 36 of them into 7 regional ones. So just to make a long story short, that has an impact, I guess, on us in Mississauga. I'm reading here into it, there's going to be longer approval waiting times, longer staff hours. There's going to be additional money, somewhere between 2 and 5 million, maybe additional impact on the city operational and some increased audit costs, what have you. So, is that a good idea for us? Is there something that we can help you or council in getting the message out? Is Bill 68 a good bill for us?
Bill 68 is not a good bill for anybody because the conservation authorities all have geographical areas that they know well and they cover well and they tell us what we can and can't do. If they blend them, TRCA, the Toronto one, will stay, it's part of Mississauga. Credit Valley, I think, is going to be joined in with Halton. So it just diminishes their power. And it takes, I'm almost getting very cynical in that. It's going to take them longer to process more applications or more questions. So people will throw their hands up and say, oh, well, we don't need conservation authorities. They're slowing down development. They're slowing down housing. So it's an excuse to get rid of them, period.
Is it a done deal?
This Bill 68 hasn't passed through the province yet, but it will. When you have a huge majority government like we do, nothing ever slides under the table, it goes through.
But it's to our cost, like you look at, like we are one of the highest flood prone cities in Ontario. We have neighborhoods where homeowners cannot get any kind of insurance. I mean, that
Ward
has a
3, Ward
direct.
1,
Yeah,
and even Malton, strangely enough.
yes.
Malton is now, if you look at the conservation map, it's all blue, it's a lake. So nobody can build a new house. And actually, they did, a camera went down through their system. There was a Bell telephone phone booth down there. Now, when's the last time you saw a Bell telephone phone booth? It's been in that big sewer for who knows how many years, clogging stuff up.
Yeah.
So, no, we have areas, we've got a lot of problems.
But with climate change, it means
Couldn't
the
make it go
province is
south.
downloading these financial and physical risks are now being borne.
But one of the things that we did 8 years ago was we brought in a stormwater charge. We're one of the few cities in Ontario or in Canada that did that. Toronto's talked about it, but they haven't done it. So we brought in a stormwater charge. It goes under water bill because you've got the lowest water bills in Canada. So we have used that money. It doesn't go into general revenue. It goes strictly into replacing all those pipes and doing all the things we have to do to get rid of the bad flooding. And we're in not bad shape.
So you're saying you don't think there's any way we can fight against them amalgamating all the conservation authorities and stripping them even further?
Well, if you want to put a lot of money behind it and hire a really good environmental lawyer, you can give it a try, but I
I
wouldn't
know
hold
some
my
of them
breath.
are, but so you're saying they're going to be tilting it right
I don't
now.
want to sound negative. I'm a realist. And you've got a premier with a huge majority. The Tories are business oriented. He's looking at where he can make money, where everybody can make more money, and that's what he's concerned about. And that's what people voted for. I remember we had some crazy program, I didn't agree with it, where 2 elections ago we sent out little diagrams and it showed a single family house in a high rise in between the houses on a regular street. And nobody believed that. And everybody went out and voted conservative. So I don't know what you do.
Proportional voting, proportional voting.
And the ability to recall MPs.
Well, you guys are right up my alley. I know too much, and I think that's why I sound a bit cynical, but I'm a realist, and I've been in this business a long time. And I don't have a lot of faith in majority governments. Not even when we had one. Although Mr. Kretschek was the last guy who balanced the budget in 94 or 95, and we paid down the debt for a few years. I was an MP at the time. And that was because he was a very conservative liberal, and so was I. But he was fantastic, and nobody remembers that. Look at the debt we've got now.
I do.
I'd like to hear Trevor's question, and then Mary's got a question, and then I want to hear what Meaghan has to say as
Oh
well.
yeah, Megan's here.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Megan. Come on up here a bit with me. Let the questions go first.
Okay, this is a long question.
But don't do a long question.
I can't.
Just chop it down,
I
Trevor.
can't.
What's the subject?
The subject is provincial changes to the official plans and secondary plans.
That's complicated.
It is, but I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it slow.
No, you can read it.
Okay, I'll read it fast.
I listen fast.
Okay, the province has introduced legislation through Bill 185, the cutting red tape, to build more homes Act 2024, which amends the Planning Act and effectively eliminates secondary plans at the local level. Government's jurisdiction is that this will streamline approvals and accelerate housing delivery, but in practice, it strips municipalities of the ability to tailor growth to local realities. Developers may benefit from faster, less complicated approvals, but communities lose the tools needed to plan for infrastructure, schools, transit, parks, and climate resilience. Without secondary planning, neighborhoods risk being built without the services and safeguards residents depend on, leaving municipalities to shoulder the financial and social consequences. What are your thoughts on these proposed changes, and how is council preparing to respond? And how can residents and communities organizations voice their concerns to the province to ensure Peel's needs are not sidelined. Finally, I told you it was a little, right? Finally, when we, yeah, it is.
I always like being read to as a
When we talk about housing, we must emphasize that we need homes built on universal design principles that allow people to age in place, homes that are sustainably constructed and climate adapted, and homes that are cost effective to operate and maintain. Anything else or anything less reflects short-term thinking that benefits developers, while long-term thoughtful planning is what truly benefits residents and the communities they call home.
First of all, I do not defend developers. There are good developers and there are terrible developers. I told you again, the housing task force we pulled together, we pulled in all the best developers, the people that when they go to community meetings, they listen to the community and they make changes and they adapt. So those are the people that were on our housing. They had no problem with that bill. And I'll tell you, our staff had no problem with that bill because it forced us to do a whole brand new official plan that added 124 units to what we were doing. And it made them all work so that they were addressing all the things that you talk about. Everybody screams about fourplexes. Fourplexes are the way you can have families living together, working together, using the land efficiently, and it's less expensive. But how many have we built? We have built 8 fourplexes since that came in. So a lot of what you say is you've got to get back to the fact that developers are not guys that are going in there to destroy a community. They want to sell the units they're building. So we control our developers with a really tight official plan, which is about to be approved in November, the end of November. And we have designed for our city, and we are quite happy with what we've got. Having some of the input removed is probably not good. A lot of you go to meetings and say, well, we don't want you to do this, we don't want you to do that. The good developers will meet you off-site. They'll sit down with a room like this, and they'll ask you, what do you want changed? And they'll do it. They won't do it to lose money, but they will do it to get your support and to make sales. So I'm not as opposed to 185 as you are. I think it's had to be done because we're in a housing crisis. So we want to make things a little easier for the developers, a little faster to get through. Because you could go 2-3 years with a plan and never get the community to agree to it, and then it just dies. So I guess it's not a popular answer, but I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, I mean.
No, we tailored ours so that we can maintain neighborhoods the way we've set them.
Right, but housing is being built, right? But I know it's always housing, we can need more housing. But I'm just wondering how are we as a city, or you as a council, how are you guys addressing actually putting up affordable housing, right? I know there's a lot of housing.
All right, I just told you, we're taking the Twin Pines location, we're building probably 800 or 900 units in there that will be what we call deeply affordable. They'll be subsidized by the federal government, they'll be subsidized by Matamee, who wants a display location for their prefab buildings. We're doing these things, but cities don't build housing. Developers build housing. So we have to have help from the provincial government, we have to have help from the federal government. And I'm a little disappointed in the federal government, to be honest with you. Carney talked about prefabs, he talked about all the stuff he was going to do. None of it's come down to us. And to say to first-time home buyers, you don't pay GST on, or HST.
That doesn't help.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. It saves $80,000, but where are you going to get the down payment? So, I don't know. We're in a serious housing crisis. All I can tell you is here in Mississauga, we have probably done 5 times as many units as we did the year before. And what we're doing is working. And we'll get 32 to 35 million at the middle of this year from the provincial government. We won't get anything from the feds.
And what about the buildings that we don't want, or like the 900 Lakeshore, that aren't appropriate?
Well, 900 Lakeshore, I think, is going to end up dying anyway. It doesn't fit our stipulations. So if it doesn't pass our planning department, it won't get done.
Sorry, Mayor, just for clarification, the money from Carney, does it go to Ford first before it hits you? It doesn't go directly to you, does
No, it
it?
goes directly to us. There was a plan that they had under Trudeau, sorry to use a bad word here. I was glad he was gone, by the way. Under him, we got, I think, we were awarded almost 100,000, and we're getting it in 5 drops. And when, who was the guy, hyphenated name, that was in the leadership? Nate Erskine-Smith. He was a housing minister for about 12 seconds. But I got his number from one of our MPs, and I called him at home on a Saturday night, and I told him what we'd done. I said, we'd really like the second drop, even though it's not due for another 3 months. Delivered the check the following week. So we've collected 52 million from the feds, and it comes straight to us.
Cool.
But this new guy hasn't done much for us.
Mary?
Actually, I'm a police brat as well, 37 years. I respect the job. I am gobsmacked by salaries, but that's another issue. As has been mentioned, this is a huge flood zone. This area floods. And we supported, TOP has supported, whoops, my guy's on. TOP has supported fourplexes with caveats. And the caveats were that there was permeability, that there were regulations surrounding them. I was born and raised in downtown Toronto. It's never been an issue, that kind of building around. And I think it's a nice general intent condition. I think it works. But it concerns me when I hear about us developing green spaces for the sake of more high-rises. After Katrina in New Orleans, they left open spaces because they said we realized there was nowhere for the rain to go. You're talking to a community that supports that there's nowhere for the rain to go, and yet we keep building and taking up. We're getting infill that has double car or double driveways. They aren't when the inspector goes through, but son of a gun, the moment they've been sold, they're turned into, we're losing our permeability. And I don't want to keep paying, my water bill for one person is $171 over a couple of months. It's not chump change. We may have great water. We've got to be doing more. We're taking steps on one hand, and yet we're not the other. Where's the permeability?
Okay, let me answer your question, because Megan's been sitting here all night, and you guys need to talk to her too. The problem is, I asked for a study because you're absolutely right. You buy the house that has a single driveway, and suddenly it's got 4 driveways. 2 around the other side, 2 coming in this side. And so I asked for a study. And what I got back from the staff at that, this was 5 or 6 years ago before I had a title that scared them a bit. And they came back and said, we can't do it. It's impossible to do all that. I said, well, could we bring in a system where if you want to widen your driveway, it has to be permeable? And I showed them all the styles they have in Europe. And they're easy to maintain. I did a lot of travel when I was an MP. And cities have them with their little funny bricks, or they just have 2 for the tires to fit bricks, and it's grass in between. There were all these lovely ways of doing it. And our guys just said no. So it's a good reminder, now that I have a bit of a title for however long it lasts, I'm going to push that again. Because if we're doing it, if we're widening driveways, we should absolutely, you can't widen it unless you make it permeable.
And you should also do the review of the stormwater again and go and look at every single house again. And anybody that has all the extra pavement, they should be paying more than the house next door that has the butterfly garden, that has all the grass,
Yeah,
that
we
has
have,
more
I think,
trees.
2 or 3 rates depending on the size of the
Exactly.
flat roofs and all the rest of it.
But you have to take into consideration the concrete as well. I know that is.
It's hardscaping that's just killing us.
Well, a lot of that hardscaping, we asked for a review of that as well, and what we got, I think Deepika asked if we could do it based on square footage. And the thought of measuring all the hardscaping on every house in the city or every building was so overpowering. They said you won't save enough money to pay for the study.
You could probably do it with AI now. Drones.
That's what they do. That's what they look at Google Maps for goodness
Image
sake.
analysis, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Megan, are you ready to get up
Cheaper
here?
than you think.
I'm always happy to talk about whatever anyone wants to ask me about.
Come on up here. I'll sit with you.
So Meaghan, since our chat earlier in the year, we just want to know where you are, what's gotten better, if anything, and what's getting worse.
Well, I made a video a couple of weeks ago because it's just been past a year since we declared food insecurity an emergency here in Mississauga. The first community to do that in Ontario. There's 12 now that have followed suit. And unfortunately, we saw an increase in the number of visits to the food bank over the last year. Folks are coming to the food bank more often, so it was a 20% increase in visits last year. So it's about 49,000 of our 800,000 residents are using the food bank, and they're visiting 10 and 11 times a year because every single month they can't afford to make ends meet. And so everything that we've been talking about tonight, housing, affordability, climate adaptation, all of these pieces overlap with one another to create a community where everyone can thrive. And so Food Banks Mississauga is a part of the Metamorphosis network and working with Sean and the team there, even though food banks don't receive provincial or federal funding. So the work we're doing there wouldn't benefit the food bank whatsoever. But when people have housing they can afford, when they have childcare they can afford, when they have jobs that pay well, when they can access long-term care that keeps their loved ones safe, they can afford their food. And so all of these intersecting pieces are the ways that we address the fact that folks are going without in our community. Food insecurity is not a food issue, it's a money issue, because people, they want to be able to buy their own food with their own resources. And so getting people the resources they need so that they can meet their own food needs is what we really want at the end of the day. But for now, the food bank finds and distributes food for 10 million meals a year, just here in Mississauga. And we share that through 65 agencies across the city to make sure that people aren't going hungry in our community. I've been at the food bank now since 2009, and it is really, really hard that 50,000 of my neighbors need to use a food bank now, and when I started, it was about 12,000. And so the number of people struggling is just growing and growing and growing. And we've experienced a faster rate of increase than other communities across the province as well, because of all those competing pressures that are higher in Peel, are more pressurized here in Peel. So the reason it's great for me to have a chance just to chat with you folks tonight, you care enough about your community that you came out to the Legion on a rainy Tuesday night to talk with the mayor and ask her questions about making your community better. So in the same way, my request to you today is if your community is able, please make a donation. We receive 9% of our funding from the region and nothing from the province or the feds. Everything else is from the community. But also, please tell somebody else, hey, did you know 50,000 people in our city are food insecure? Because folks don't know. People aren't aware that there's other members of our community that are really struggling. So please just make folks aware. It's helpful for people to have an understanding that when we're talking about, our property tax bills and things that affect us as Mississauga residents, many of us as homeowners are going to be insulated from some of these challenges a little bit more than some other people. And so if we can come together at the holidays and into 2026 to make sure that at least changes that get made don't hurt folks who are already most vulnerable in our community, the food bank can help you do that. So happy to answer any questions, yeah.
Is there a way to get money from the province and the feds as well, or is that just a dead end?
It's a dead end. It's a dead end. There has never been provincial or federal funding for food banks. And to be honest, as food banks, we don't really want it. We want the money to go into minimum wage. We want the money to go into social supports, into affordable housing. We don't want to be institutionalized. We're a Band-Aid. We're really good Band-Aid, but we're a Band-Aid. And so what we really want to see is people's personal incomes increase. They don't need to rely on a charity, or that you need a charity, it's an emergency. Food banks were meant to be for emergencies, not every single month of the year.
So voter issue again for use of power.
Yes.
So maybe it's time to have another conversation with the Metamorphosis group and the residents associations. Because some of the information we found out tonight is not encouraging.
Sorry, couple of downers.
And it is that time of year the province has started to write a budget for Meaghan to have the things that she just described. The province would have to decide that they want to actually invest in affordable housing. The study that we're going to come out with in January, just as the budget consultations get rolling, will point out, and spoiler alert, but we get about a third as much affordable housing per capita as Toronto or Ottawa or Hamilton, because they built affordable housing for the old cities, but they didn't build them in the new cities. And so we're a million miles behind on infrastructure, and there's one and only one way to fix that. And Carolyn Weitzman, a great housing researcher, likes to say, you can't get into heaven without dying, and you can't fix the housing crisis without spending money. That's just the deal.
So if you're looking for bummer topics at your upcoming dinner parties, Mayor Parrish and I are available to kind of talk about whatever fatalism's already happened, what's struggling in our community. I guarantee I can put a wet blanket on any dinner party in 5 minutes flat. That could be a service, a fundraiser. You want to get people to go home? I'll just come over and talk about the community. Low fee, $1,500. No.
The interesting thing was Meaghan did a big Thanksgiving drive, and we actually collected more money than
The previous year.
yeah, but it didn't go as far.
Well, and that's the challenge, right? We collect more money each year, but the needs continue to rise. The cost to operate the food bank goes up. Just, by the time the increases to your rent, the increases to your utilities, and all those kind of things. And so, in the same way as all of our bills go up, food especially, holy cow, it's affecting everybody across the board.
If you've seen the big building that Peel bought a couple of years ago, we're looking at putting a building there, a warehouse and offices for Brampton and Mississauga to use, and they won't have to pay rent. So I've been working on that with the region for a couple of years now, and they've actually hired an architect to look at the planning and so forth. Yeah.
Meaghan, I have a question. You mentioned, now you're not going to have data. I just want to know your...
Well, let's see if I have it.
No, I don't think you have that. I think it's going to be more of an opinion based on your experience, right? You mentioned 50,000 visits.
50,000 individuals.
50,000 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
What do you estimate, because I know that's, not everybody is attending or going to a food bank, just for pride or whatever. Right? What do you estimate the actual amount to be?
Well, Food Banks Canada recently shared information that now 1 in 4 Canadian households is food insecure. 1 in 4.
That's doubled what it was at the beginning of the year.
So 1 in 4 Canadian households are some level of food insecurity. So food insecurity is a range. It could be, I'm worried our food's gonna run out before I get paid again, to I'm buying crappier food to save money, to I'm fully skipping meals. So somewhere along that range, 1 in 4 households across our country is worried they're not gonna have enough money for food. And so if you do 1 in 4 households in Mississauga, I think there's about 275,000 households that makes up the 800,000 people. So 1 in 4 of those, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
Hey Meaghan, can you tell us a little bit about how entities in the food bank sector are not just places where people go for food and go away? So people here are familiar, for example, with Compass as a hub.
Sure.
But in some recent presentations, you were talking about how lots of people in the food banks are also doing that social and community work.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a great question. I mean, if people come to a food bank, their only problem isn't food. They've got other stuff going on. But so that we don't duplicate service, we try to serve as a referral agency. And so we give folks a confidential survey where they can identify areas of their life that they're struggling. Is it legal? Is it housing? Is it they need a dentist? They need childcare things, whatever it is. And then we'll send them a list of agencies that they can get connected with who may be able to help them with those other areas and get those referrals out. And then we try to fill some gaps with programs. We offer a home delivery program for seniors and those with disabilities who are living in poverty and can't get to a neighborhood food bank, so volunteers will take the food bank to them. There's about 750 households in Mississauga we serve that way. We operate tax clinics to help people. So many people in low income don't file their taxes because they're worried they owe money because they don't understand it. 20% of people in the lowest income quintile don't file their taxes. And so food banks operate tax clinics now to say to people, hey, the government's actually going to give you money and we want to help you get that. And so last year we helped folks file about 600 tax returns. And over the last few years, we've brought over $6 million in government credits and benefits back to people that they weren't previously receiving. Now with the federal automatic tax filing program, we're hoping in the next few years we can wind down that program because taxes will be filed automatically. And then our advocacy work as well, working with the government and all levels of government to have policies and programs that are available to help reduce the need for food banks. And then our programs across the city, the 65 agencies, operate things that their neighborhood needs. So if folks down here on the lakeshore, you know, the Compass offers computer classes and men's and women's clubs and all these kind of things. Save Up in Malton offers cooking programs. They do a home delivery for hot cooked foods, or they do a youth activation program. So they're trying to find the local needs as you get, because you connect with people over food, right? Food's what, we're all getting together over the holidays for food. And so in the same way, connecting with people about food, talking about some of the other issues, and helping people hopefully address some of the things that brought them to need the food bank in the first place.
And speaking of which, don't forget we have dessert as soon as we're finished.
There you go.
Everybody. Mayor Parrish, I want to come back to the police budget.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not off the hook. Going back to the police budget and trying to get more accountability. What can we do as MIRANET and resident associations to get this transparency that we keep asking for? The line-by-line budget and the audit, having it audited.
All these are really good. Ottawa Police Department voluntarily have their books audited. We've asked our police department to do it, and the answer is no. Toronto is now getting theirs audited. So perhaps letters to the province saying these increases, the increase from 2020 to now was 81% in their budget.
Since that was
from 2020, let me see, I've got it here.
Is that 80?
From 2020 to 2026, a total of 82.4% increase in their budget.
That's outrageous.
It's insane.
And that the head police facility is in Brampton, and the money being spent on that is just
No, the head office for the police is on Mississauga Road. It's in the old.
Isn't that in Brampton though?
What building was it?
Yeah. Bioville building,
Yeah.
Okay.
But they own 5 buildings.
Yeah.
Other police departments have 1.
The one that's costing 800 million. That's the new one. That's the new one.
That's the one that's going into Dasco's ward.
Yeah. I mean, that's outrageous in this type of economy.
It's a very simple thing. If you could get all the ratepayer groups and all the AGMs to send letters, I don't even know if it'll do any good to send it to the province. Maybe send it to the feds and say, police services are significant. They take up a large percentage of the budget. We believe they should be audited for value for dollar audits.
So who made that decision?
Who made what? The police departments themselves made the decision to do it. They got tired of listening to the griping.
Was it under the municipal?
But in all
No, it's
fairness, I'm
under
not
the
defending,
Solicitor
I'm
General.
not defending that they're spending everything as we would like them to, but in all fairness, they increased last year 300 officers. This year, there's 195 more officers to go in.
175.
175. So, I mean, a lot of that money is going towards wages. I do believe they're called to their response times have improved and so forth. So I don't know.
No.
I just know there's a lot more violence.
Their solvency rates are lower.
Ever been?
No, their solvency rates are lower. They publish them every month.
Right.
And their response times, if you have a break-in at your house and there's nobody in the house still, it's 2 days before an officer gets there.
That's not what they
No,
put
but
in their
that's-
PowerPoint presentation.
Sorry, but that's when
Yeah.
no one is, when there isn't an issue that's going on. When there is an issue that's going on, they are responding. So I just want to be careful with certain things. Again, I do believe they should be audited. I do believe these things should be happening. But our city has become so violent, and whether it's coming from Brampton or whether it's coming from Mississauga or whether it's coming from wherever. So I think, at the end of the day, personally, when I look to say money going towards the police or towards Windrow, I think I'd rather the police. in all honesty.
But again, there are issues where the police are taking on jobs, as you pointed out,
That they
that would
shouldn't
be
be.
better addressed by social services. They do it for a fraction of the cost. The impacts can be lifelong. So whatever the drivers are for these crimes, I would prefer to pay less money to address the root issues instead of having the police deal with the issue when it's already escalated to criminality.
We've got a perfect example of the hub in Malta. We have kids that they're all checked through. They have no breakfast and no lunch when they come to school. We've got about 150 of them being fed in the hub every day, hot lunches. And their friends come with them with their bag lunches. So there's about 300 kids, if you go in there at lunchtime, eating lunch. And they've been told, the ones that were throwing their lunch bags out at the beginning because they thought the food there was better, says, no, you're taking food out of your friend's mouth. So 200 to 300 kids a day, of which 150 to 180 have no meals until dinner time. And that might be a bag of potato chips and a cheese. So hunger produces needs, needs produce crime. And I can show you the statistics. The shoplifting's gone down, all that stuff. The gangs, there is no longer a gang up there. They used to fight with Rexdale all the time. They had a mass shooting up there and a kid was killed. That wasn't involved in it. He was coming out of the house, out of the apartment, and a bullet got him right in the head. That they named Jonathan Davis. They named the hub after him because he was a good kid. But they're all good kids now. Those kids have settled, and it's only taken 2 years. That's why we're building another one, and then we're building another one, and we're going to build one a year.
And in the absence of a police audit, we can't make those decisions where we say, you know what, this money would be better spent here because we get greater positive impacts within the community as opposed to, addressing it. And I mean, who wants a kid interacting with the police if they're, say, 12 years old? That also changes the trajectory of their lives completely.
And again, it's our tax dollars.
Yeah.
We should be able to see a budget, line by line budget, and we should be able to have it audited. The transparency is just not there.
And maybe the Metamorphosis people will back me up and say they may be taking on more stuff that we can do cheaper and better with social service agencies.
We just can't use the slogan defund the police.
No.
That doesn't work.
No,
Like help the police.
But how can you defund the police when they've had an 81% increase in 5-6 years?
Mayor Parrish, when you say the feds, who do you mean?
The federal government.
I understand, yes, but where? Which ministry?
Oh, no, it's not the federal government, it's the Solicitor General's Department, provincial.
Provincial, okay.
Yes.
So if Ottawa got it and Toronto has general, why can't we? It goes to the pure police board, I believe, right? They're the ones who make the final decision.
The police board would have to agree to it. We can't enforce it.
But it cannot be forced by the Solicitor General?
I don't think, I guess he could, but he won't. He wouldn't. He's gonna listen to the representatives that they've appointed to the police services.
So we don't write letters to the feds, we
Write letters to the Solicitor
General.
General.
Provincial.
And deputize provincial. Yeah. And again, you're absolutely right. Nobody's defunding the police. Defunding means lowering their salaries and lowering their budgets. We're not doing that. Not by a country mile.
Sean, you have a comment?
There was a study that one of our sister organizations, the ABRST, did last year that actually quantifies some of the savings that you could have. If you had 50 more youth workers, what would that mean in terms of saving on the police budget? So we have some of those numbers now that could be part of the conversation. We presented it during the budget hearings last year, but it didn't seem to have a whole lot of impact.
I wouldn't mind getting a hold of that again, please, because I get so much stuff a year ago I would never remember.
So just as a segue, if you have the information from the hub showing the decrease in crime amongst the youth sector, you can't let the police services take credit for the reduced crime rate.
Oh, that's
very true.
Exactly. Don't let them polish their apple on the work that you do.
I'm going to make a quick comment about all of the police statistics that are being shown, then I'm going to ask you a question. The police budgets, they're only using 5 years worth of data, is what they're putting out, and we were just at some budget meetings, you're getting 5 years worth of data anyways about decreasing crime and how they're attacking things. The trouble is the numbers are skewed by COVID. So if they go back 10 years, 15 years, you get more reliable numbers. So that kind of bothers me when they just use 5 years. The other thing I'm going to ask you, Matt, if I can, if many of the road projects are being deferred within Mississauga, what is happening with the already budget-approved Lure Street resurfacing project that our property taxes were increased 1% on a particular year to pay for that? I think it was about $29 million.
Yeah, but that project's dead right now because we have sent repeated letters saying that we need a decision. The bike lanes, putting bike lanes in did not take a lane of traffic out. The lane of traffic was coming out to slow down traffic in that stretch. And we can't get an answer from them. We're neither fish nor fowl. We can't go ahead with it and we can't really stop it. It's sitting there. It's just a non-project.
But it's not dead, it just says paused on the city website. So it could be resurrected.
Oh yeah, if we could get an answer out of the provincial government, we could.
Bill 60, it's in there as well. That
Just-
no bike lanes, no, you can't remove a car lane, a traffic lane of traffic to put in a bike lane.
But in that particular instance, the lane of traffic was taken out as a slowing down measure.
I guess it depends on your perspective.
No, but the bike lanes weren't in the roadway. They were up on the boulevard. So they weren't connected at all.
They were slowing down the traffic.
Anyways, on that note, does somebody have a last question for our mayor or Megan?
Oh, I do.
Just a quick one. I was at the Living Arts Center, there was a theme of urban planning presented, if you can recall that at all.
Yep.
I'm assuming we hire urban planning consultants, do we?
No, we have our own.
We have our own, I hope.
Yeah, we have our own.
We don't need to hire outside.
Okay, I got the impression they were acquired.
No, all the guys that were, women that were in that were all our staff.
And now, is there some vision that influences our future planning? Is there something significant that we should know about?
Well, what happens is we have strategic planning, and we do it, should be doing it every 5 years, but the last one was done about 9 years ago, and everybody refreshes it at 5. We're about to go into that 10-year, so there'll be invitations for you to come out, give your opinion, find out what you want. Because we don't want to tell you what we want. We'd rather give you what you want.